Chapter 91. Fang Yuan, we're very worried about you. It was a night without sleep, and once day came, Fang Yuan stepped out of the room and started to purchase stuff wantonly. The room was poorly furnished and the blankets were torn. If he lived there for long, the chill would enter his body and cause him to get sick. Fang Yuan's primeval stones were already half used up, but he still had to purchase the necessary equipment. He could not scrimp on these things. Firstly was a blanket. He had to get a large blanket stuffed with cotton, or at least two. He also needed bed sheets and a mattress. He needed another oil lamp so that it could illuminate the room, and he needed at least 2 pots of lamp oil. Thinking about it, although the room was small, it could still hold a table and a chair, thus he bought those as well. Most importantly, it was a stove. In the winter, if he did not have a stove to warm himself when sleeping in the room, he would still get shocked awake by the cold. Other than these, he also bought some dry rations and some water to last around 7 days' worth. The winter sun slowly rose, giving out languid rays of light. Gu Jiao San and the other Gu masters stood at the north door of the village, waiting anxiously. Something's not right. Last night we agreed to meet at this time and place, but it has already been 15 minutes, and this Fang Yuan still hasn't shown up? A female Gu master asked. Calm down and just wait. It is inevitable that a newcomer is late, Jiao Sa laughed. He had been fretting over not having any reasons to fault Fang Yuan with, but to think he faltered on the second day. Never mind that we are waiting. Even the group leader has to wait for him. This lad thinks too much of himself. Gu Yukong Jing complained, his tone indignant. Half an hour later, Fang Yuan was still nowhere to be found. Jiao San's face was darker than night. This scumbag. Did he remember the wrong location? We said clearly that we are meeting at the northern door, Kong Jing said suspiciously. I'll wait here. You guys go look around the different doors, Jiao San instructed, and the three obliged. 15 minutes later, they returned with no fruit. Did this Fang Yuan see through our ploy and left the group directly? A female Gu master asked. You think too highly of him. Even if he is the first place in the year-end exam, he is still a young newbie. His age is apparent, Kong Jing said. Jiao San's face was grim. It is secondary to whether he has seen through us. The crucial thing is to find him now. I am afraid that he has left us behind and is trying to break through to rank 2 on his own. Once he reaches rank 2, he can abandon this mission and apply for the splitting of assets from the Internal Affairs Hall. Find him. Go and find him. The village is only so big and there are only that many rental houses. We must find him and not give him the time to break through to rank 2. Yes. In the room, Fang Yuan sat on the bed. In front of him were a few money bags, and inside them was all primeval stones. Not enough primeval stones, Fang Yuan sighed, his expression grim. Primeval stones are the driving force behind a Gu master's advancement, and if they are lacking, the Gu masters would need to rely on their own recovery speed for primeval essence, which would greatly reduce their cultivation speed. At the same time, without sufficient food, the Gu worms would die of hunger. Fang Yuan's primeval stones, during his time at the academy, it had reached the peak of being slightly above 1,000. But it could not stand up to the expenditure over time. A same stage Gu master up till now only has 3 Gu worms. But Fang Yuan, after getting number 1 in the year-end exam, entered the Gu hall and chose another little light Gu for free. He must choose, for if he gave up, it would invite suspicion. Like this, he had 7 Gu worms on hand. Undeniably, this was a huge financial burden. If this continues, I can only hold out for 2 months. I must get back my family assets. That is the greatest financial support. But to get them back, the first step is to advance to rank 2. Fang Yuan's gaze was dark. Fang Yuan. Advancing to rank 2 was not easy. For a Gu master's cultivation, first was resources, second was talent. Without talent, the path of cultivation would be difficult and their accomplishments in the future would be lower. Talent is split according to D, C, B, and a grade. But this is only a rough distribution. In fact, every grade has another specific differentiation. Taking a C grade, for example, the primeval essence storage in the aperture would be around 40-59%. Fang Yuan's primeval essence was 44%, so in the C grade range, he was only middle-lower class. Rushing to rank 2, he needed at least 55%. Black-green primeval essence. To an A and B grade Gu master, This was not difficult, and to the 55 to 59% C-grade Gu Masters, they could pass as well. Thus, for C-grade Gu Masters, once they reach a certain accumulation, most of them would advance to rank 2. Only very few can attain rank 3. Thus, the talent could determine most people's achievements in their lives. Fang Yuan being given the cold shoulder, he could not blame the people for being biased. Although my C-grade talent is only 44%, if I want to break the wall and reach a new height, attaining rank 2, it is still not impossible. The easiest way is to find a talent-raising Gu worm. Secondary, I can get a support-type Gu like the liquor worm, and that can help to break the barrier as well. Lastly, I can attain the help of a higher-ranking Gu Master. But using external primeval essence has a huge backlash, unless I can get the cleansing Gu in future to eliminate the external presence. Fang Yuan thought about it while using both hands to take out a primeval stone, using his fingers to rub the smooth surface of the stone. But the above methods are not recommended for me. I do not have any friendly Gu Master to help, and even if I do, I will not let my aperture be at their mercy. Gu worms like the liquor worm are too rare. Even getting the liquor worm was my extreme luck. As for talent-raising Gu worm, I got it in my previous life and attained rank 6 cultivation, and I also know where to find them, but I cannot go to those places now with my current cultivation. Even if I get them, I cannot keep them or even use them. But other than these methods, there is a final most stupid method, using primeval stones to force it. Thinking so, Fang Yuan's eyes flashed as he gripped the primeval stone tightly. Gu Master cultivation. First was resources, second was talent. Without sufficient talent, one can compensate using resources to a degree. My primeval essence is only 44%. I do not have enough to break the aperture walls. But if I absorb primeval essence while attacking the walls, I can hold on much longer, and in about 4 to 5 days, I would be able to smash the walls. Making up his mind, Fang Yuan opened his eyes, his heart sinking into his aperture. Green copper primeval sea raged on as the waves crashed into the aperture walls. But this time, to prevent his primeval essence from drying up and becoming insufficient to maintain the cracks and causing the aperture to recover, Fang Yuan purposely slowed the attacking speed. This way, the green bronze primeval essence expenditure would be greatly reduced, but the crack formation would also slow down. Despite so, Fang Yuan continued to absorb the natural essence of the primeval stones. Primeval essence recovery has to be slightly above the crack recovery speed. This way, even if it is slow, showing less than 1% progress, there would be hope as time passes. The only thing about this method would be that other than eating and shitting, Fang Yuan had to cultivate nonstop. The more time he wasted, the more primeval stones would go down the drain, and the more his hard work would squander. He could stop for a maximum of 15 minutes. And after that, if there isn't any primeval essence to continue attacking, the aperture would fully recover. Thus, once the attack began, he had to persevere until he succeeded and cannot be disturbed. Once he stopped for too long, he would have to restart the process. Fang Yuan did not have so many primeval stones on hand to do it multiple times. Time flies when cultivating, and in the blink of an eye, the sun set. Under the setting sun, Jiao San with a cold expression said, "After finding for a day, you still haven't found him?" "No, group leader." Kong Jing wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, "That lad, he did not go to any of the houses we recommended. We have no idea where he is hiding." Continue searching tomorrow. We have to find him. Remember to search the inn as well. I do not believe that we cannot find him. The village is only so big. No matter where he is hiding, there has to be a trace. Jiao San walked away in fury. Until the afternoon of the second day, their search finally bore fruit that a female Gu Master walked to Jiao San excitedly, reporting, "Found him! Found him! Fang Yuan is at a worn-out bamboo building and has rented the second floor. According to the owner's description, it should be him." Humph, as I expected, he really hid himself and is trying to break through to rank 2. Jiao San laughed sinisterly. "Let's go and make ourselves guests in his room and show him some concern. He is a newcomer after all." The others also started smirking. The four immediately came to Fang Yuan's residence. There was a paper on the door. Jiao San took it down and read it. It was Fang Yuan's handwriting, saying that he needed to go into closed-door cultivation for a few days and will not leave as he would be attempting to break through to rank 2. If others saw it, they should not disturb him. If Jiao San saw it, it was a request of absence application. Jiao San snorted, throwing the paper away. How can I let you advance to rank 2 so successfully? He laughed coldly, knocking on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Little brother Fang Yuan, are you here? He purposely said loudly. We are here to see you. How could you not tell us about your closed-door cultivation? Seriously. There was no reply. Knock, knock, knock. Jiao San knocked loudly. Little brother Fang Yuan, it's not that I want to nag at you, but you are making decisions on your own. Now that you are our group member, you should listen to instructions and obey orders. Moving together. We have already accepted the wild deer hunting mission. This is specifically for you to train, so why don't you stop first and complete the mission with us, then cultivate. Jiao San's eyes squinted as he said in a gentle tone. Although his expression was dark, there was still no reply. Jiao San suddenly raised his voice. Little brother Fang Yuan, why are you not replying? Did something happen to you? It is not so easy breaking through to rank 2. You can ask us for experience. Fang Yuan, did you hear me? Oh no, could it be that you fainted? Jiao San talked to himself, smirking coldly, but his voice was full of concern and anxiety. The other 3 members observed the show. Kong Jing interrupted at an appropriate timing. Leader, you might be right. Fang Yuan hasn't responded after so long. Let's go in and save him. Fang Yuan, quickly open the door. We're really worried if you keep silent. If you don't open the door, we will break in. You are our newest member. We cannot let you be in danger. Jiao San shouted loudly. Still, there was no reply. Jiao San's mouth curled, indicating to Kong Jing. Kong Jing acknowledged and raised his foot. With a loud BAM sound, the entire door was sent flying, crashing onto the bed. Chapter 92. The future is in sight. Hang in there, Fang Yuan. We're coming to help you. Jiao San shouted with a concerned expression, taking huge steps into the room. But the next moment, he was dumbfounded. The room was empty. Fang Yuan was not inside. The 4 became silent. How can this be? Where is he? Jiao Sa broke the silence, saying frustratingly, he performed outside the room for such a long time, but it turned out to be a one-man performance as Fang Yuan was never inside. The 3 looked at each other, not expecting such a result. This is weird. If Fang Yuan isn't here, why would he paste that paper on the door? Kong Jing said carefully, get the landlord here now. Jiao Sa raised his foot and sent the door flying. You looking for me? Humph, I was just about to find you. Coming to my house and raising a huge ruckus, even breaking down my door. Young man, you sure are capable. The landlord was an old man, but his tone was very firm. Being able to own additional houses in the Guyu village and renting it out, he was obviously a Gu master. A Gu master's strength and status supersedes a mortal. Mortals do not dare to operate such a business. In fact, they do not own property. The entire village's property is owned by the Guyu clan. The mortals who live here are the farmers and servants of the clan. Senior, we are here to find a young man. He is our group member. Facing the landlord, Jiao San controlled his temper. An old Gu master like the landlord. Even if he is old and no longer striving for his career, he still has strong relationships and connections. Even if he is retired, his ability is still not to be underestimated. Those without human relationships and trump cards, how would they dare to do business? This is not a peaceful era. It is full of violence and plunder. The landlord shook his head. His tone rigid. I do not care about my tenant's whereabouts, but I do know that you broke my door. You need to compensate me. Hee, this is our fault. It is only right that we compensate you. Jiao Sa laughed dryly. Although he was furious inside, he still forced himself to compensate some primeval stones and even gave some extra. The landlord's expression turned slightly better. If the young man who rented this room is who you are finding, then I must tell you that he has not turned in for a day. After paying a month's rent, he bought a huge amount of things yesterday and asked me which place sold coal cheaply. I told him that there was no need to buy coal as there is a valley outside the village towards the north. A mine is situated there where he can excavate the coal. After thanking me, he left and never returned. So that's it. Jiao San looked at the decorations in the room. Indeed, the mattress and bedding was new. The table and chairs were old goods bought by Fang Yuan that were seemingly firm. The stove was empty. It indeed did not have coal. Jiao San breathed out slowly, being at ease. It seems Fang Yuan was delayed by excavating coal. Never mind. Let's come again tomorrow. He walked out of the room first, but on the third day, Fang Yuan still did not show up. Jiao San and the others stood outside the room, hesitant. Digging for coal, it does not need so much time. Fang Yuan wants to do closed-door cultivation, so maybe he dug more. But it's been so long, could something have happened to him while he was excavating? Kong Jing conjured. Jiao San nodded unnoticeably, pointing towards the bed and stove. This lad is very stingy. He paid a month's rent all of a sudden and even bought so many things, and especially pasting that paper on the wall. He probably wanted to cultivate here. Too bad he was unlucky. These days the wolf hordes have gotten bigger, and the wild beasts around the village have gotten more active. He might have encountered some wild beasts. Leader is wise. The two female Gu masters said at the same time, flattering him. Jiao San laughed while raising his head. Ha ha ha. I was still fretting over how to deal with him. Though we have that deer-catching mission, let's not rush out to do it. If we meet him in the wilds, we are forced to save him, right? He. The other three members started laughing. Day 4.I in the aperture, waves of black-green primeval essence hit against the crystal walls relentlessly. The translucent white crystal wall was already full of cracks, crisscrossing each other. This is Fang Yuan's result after working hard non-stop for 3 days and 3 nights. At most, when he really could not take it anymore, he would quickly take a meal and settle his bowels. These days, Fang Yuan had purposely slowed the wave-crashing process, and at the same time he drew more primeval essence from his primeval stones. Thus, after such a long time, the green-copper primeval sea had only dropped from the 44% limit to around 20%. As time passed, when there was only about 13% primeval essence left, the wall could no longer hold up, and had reached its limit. Crack crack. The originally sturdy crystal wall broke into pieces, and the fragments fell into the primeval sea, causing ripples and waves. After that, it turned into white dots and vanished into thin air. What replaced the crystal wall was a brand new white light wall. This was the rank 2 light wall. Although there was not much difference and it still emitted white light, it was much more glimmering than the rank 1 light wall. At the same time, traces of red primeval essence were produced in the sea, and it mixed around with the black-green primeval sea in the aperture. This was the rank 2 initial stage red steel primeval essence. Finally, I did it. I broke through to rank 2. Fang Yuan opened his eyes abruptly, the room immediately brightening up, but a second later, a strong wave of nausea hit him. I went through 4 days and 3 nights of non-stop cultivating. It is too intense and my body is going to collapse soon. Fang Yuan laughed bitterly, slowly lying down. My cultivation was not disturbed at all. It seems that my setup at the rental house had worked. It was worth spending this sum. Next I shall rest well for the night and return to the village tomorrow. Thinking of this, intense sleepiness assaulted him. Fang Yuan forced his eyes to stay open and used his intense will to cover himself with the blanket. After closing his eyes, in a few seconds, he fell soundly asleep. The cultivation earlier had used up most of his spirit. He slept until the afternoon of the second day. Fang Yuan opened his eyes, feeling his spirit recovering to around half, but he was still feeling weakness in his body. He opened the door, walking out of the room for the first time. In 5 days, this attracted a person. This person had slim long eyes with a thin body. It was Jiang Ye's brother Jiang He. Seeing Fang Yuan, he exhaled in relief, saying, "You're finally out." Humph. I would have broken into the room if you still did not come out after the next few days. After all, if you die here, I'd be held responsible. Fang Yuan laughed but did not say anything. The winter sunlight broke through the window, shining onto his face, amplifying the trace of pale white weakness on his features. 5 days ago. He purposely asked the landlord and gave Jiao San the clues of his coal story. After that he left the Guyu village and went to the hamlet at the mountain foot. Because of Old Man Wang previously, Jiang He was half an alliance mate of his. Using this relationship, Fang Yuan stayed a few days in the village and advanced to rank 2 without any interruption. Of course, the rock crack secret cave was much more elusive than Jiang He's place, but it was not completely safe. Fang Yuan had to consider the possibility of Jiao San and the others relentlessly finding him, and might find the rock crack secret cave. Although chances were slim, if the flower wine monk's inheritance was found out, Fang Yuan's life would be in danger. Fang Yuan was a very cautious person, and he naturally would not take such risks. At the same time, it was safer at Jiang He's place. Even if they had a shared secret, Jiang He would not kill him to silence him. The risks and troubles of killing a Gu master was too great. Without sufficient benefits, Jiang He had no motivation to do it. In fact, to preserve the secret, Jiang would even have to worry about Fang Yuan's safety. After all, if the clan's punishment hall investigates Fang Yuan's death, they might find out about Old Man Wang's secret. Seeing Fang Yuan safe, Jiang was really relieved. But quickly, he felt the aura of Fang Yuan and his expression changed. To think that you really succeeded, reaching rank 2 in one go. He was shocked in his heart. 5 days ago, when Fang Yuan approached him and stated his intentions, he was actually feeling disdainful in his heart, absorbing the primeval essence from the primeval stones and breaking through to rank 2. This kind of multitasking method was very draining on the spirit. Normally speaking, Gu masters needed a very strong will, patience, and years of cultivating experience. Only with the experience, a Gu master could treat the extraction of primeval essence from the stones as an instinct. At the same time, manipulating the primeval sea skillfully and causing the impact to be controlled at a degree, and it had to be perfectly calculated. Just enough to match the recovery rate of the primeval essence so that the process could be sustained. In Jiang's opinion, Fang Yuan had no chance of success. But to think, he did it in one go. Fang Yuan laughed indifferently. I was lucky. I plan to return to the village today, but before that, it would be nice if I can have a meal. Little brother Fang Yuan, since you're here, of course I'm taking care of your meals. Jiang patted his chest, his attitude even more friendly than before. Although he did not think well of Fang Yuan's future, but now that he has advanced to rank 2, it meant that he had gone through a difficult hurdle and has the qualifications to be on par with him now. After a scrumptious meal, Jiang brought Fang Yuan to the entrance of the small village personally. Little brother Fang Yuan, be careful this time. Recently the wolf nest area has gotten slightly fiercer, causing the wild beasts to become more active. It is snowing. Jiang paused, then continued. My opinion is, don't go now. How about you stay here for another night? After Fang Yuan reached rank 2, he became really friendly, but Fang Yuan was insistent on leaving, thus saying goodbye to Jiang. The snowflakes fell calmly, just like pure white fur that was floating down slowly. The light of the setting sun turned the snow into a golden yellow. Flake by flake, the snow drifted onto Fang Yuan's head and shoulders. In the far distance, the Guyu village stood upright over the mountain waste, watching over quietly. Chapter 93. Small Beast Horde. Run faster, don't fall behind. The clansmen in front are fighting a bloody battle. They are waiting for our backup. Follow closely, or you will easily lose your direction in the midst of battle at night. Newcomers better pay special attention. On the way back to the village, there would be a 5-man group from time to time running hurriedly past Fang Yuan's side. Did something happen? He had not walked for more than 500 meters when Fang Yuan saw the 13th group. He could not help but contemplate. But to be quite honest, with 500 years' worth of memories it was just too superfluous and messy. Mentioning this, although Fang Yuan was reborn, he had never given up any of his old memories. Yet, much of his memories were enshrouded in a layer of thick fog, and if he tried to retrieve them by force, he would only get lost in the fog, getting more losses than benefits. Only a few deep and powerful memories that were like sparkling and translucent pearls ran through his previous life's 500 years like a connected thread. It was evident that what was happening right now was in fact not in any of these pearls. The life of his in the Guyu village was just the beginning of the preceding period. It was just way too long ago. Besides, there's a possibility that this never happened in my previous life, but because of my change, a butterfly effect happened and caused changes to the surroundings. Just like that, he walked while pondering. Subconsciously, Fang Yuan reached the northern gate of the village. By chance, there was another group about to set off. On seeing Fang Yuan, only one person from this group stopped in his tracks. Fang Yuan, why are you still here? What's wrong? Fang Yuan raised his eyes and looked at this person. It was no other than his fellow schoolmate, Gu Qi-Ching. Qi-Ching immediately frowned and said, Oh geez, you still don't know yet? There's been a small-scale beast tide that formed near the village. If we let it be, it will slowly become a big-scale beast tide. When that happens, the villages at the foot of the mountain will be crushed. Without those lowly mortals and slaves, we'd also be in a difficult position sometimes. Oh, so it's like this? Fang Yuan's gaze flashed. Being reminded like this, he was able to remember that such a thing did happen in his memories. In this world, it was hard for humanity to survive. Every few years a beast tide would happen. Humans need resources and living space. This is no different from wild beasts and insects. They also needed such things. To explain the beast tide as a war between wild beasts and humanity, Perhaps this will be easier to understand. Taking Qingmao Mountain, for example. Every 3 years there would be a large-scale wolf tide that attacks each of the big mountain villages. According to my calculations, the real outburst of the wolf tide will happen next year. However, this small-scale beast tide is a subsidiary of that. The wolf group will continue growing stronger and bigger, and this will cause the other beast groups around the area to lose their living space. As this effect accumulates, when it reaches the maximum limit, it will cause the migration of beast groups. Migrating beast groups will naturally influence other beast groups. Under such an intertwined influence, there is a chance that the influence would be expanded and cause all sorts of beast groups to relocate, causing the beast tide to be formed from this matter. If this problem is not controlled in time, the tide would only get bigger. Although it is still unable to endanger the existence of the Guyu village, if we leave it alone, the village's power would be greatly reduced. Wait, if this is the case... Hehehehe. There was a sudden flash in his eyes, but Fang Yuan promptly cast his gaze down, hiding away the change in his eyes. Seeing that Fang Yuan had not said anything, Qi Qing continued to speak. At the present time, the Internal Affairs Hall and External Affairs Hall have both already given out the order to mobilize. They proclaim this as an urgent mission. Fang Yuan, don't you think of goofing off? Your group has already left in the morning. You must also go. But, as he spoke up to this point, Qi Qing purposely dragged out his intonation. Danger lurks everywhere during a beast wave. All kinds of wild beasts roam about, and most of all a battle in the night is way more dangerous than the day. You're just a small little rank 1 Gu master, unlike a rank 2 like me. You should be careful. Hehehe. As he said this, he purposely held his head high and puffed his chest out, stroking his own belt, his expression joyfully satisfied and proud. His belt was no longer the green-colored rank 1 belt, but a rank 2 Gu master's red-colored belt. At the same time, on top of the metal plate on the belt, there was a 2-word. It was thanks to his grandfather Gu Chi Lian's help that he ascended to rank 2 not long ago. I just heard about this news, but since this is the case... Fang Yuan suddenly smiled and said, then I'll follow you guys and set out together. Once on the front lines, I'll leave the team and return to mine. What? Ugh, who wants to bring you? Qi Qing folded his arms, his mouth twitching disdainfully. Fang Yuan's tone was distant. The clan rule states, Gu masters that are left behind must merge into the closest group to their location. They have an obligation to continue fighting. Qi Qing, you don't even know this point. You. Qi Qing glared, just about to flare up. Indeed, this is the case. Qi Shan, who had been watching quietly, finally spoke. His body stature was close to 2 meters tall, and his figure was powerful and strong. His upper body was bare, the muscles hard and tough like metal. His entire body was covered in fiery red skin that seemed to faintly emit hot air. Undoubtedly, he was the leader of this group. Seeing him speak, even Qi Qing, who was the chief faction's inheritor, kept his mouth shut. Qi Shan expressionlessly looked at Fang Yuan, continuing, let us depart, you keep up. His voice was low and deep, his words short and simple. There was an aura of him that caused people to hardly question him. Fang Yuan shrugged nonchalantly, taking it as agreeing. Qi Qing laughed coldly, his gaze harboring malicious intentions as he looked at Fang Yuan, speaking in an emphasized, peculiar tone. Then you had better keep up. Fang Yuan did not reply to him. Humph, why do we have to drag him around? Just a rank 1 Gu master. Qi Qing mumbled to himself angrily, but since he was hindered by Qi Shan's authority, he did not dare act impudent. At once, a group of 6 people set out from the entrance. Following the mountain road and running down the slope. Gu Qi Shan took the lead. He may be big-sized, but his speed was also not slow. Besides him and Qi Qing, there were also 2 men and 1 female, their facial expressions indifferent. As they ran, Qi Shan's group started to display the graceful bearing of being one of the 3 strongest groups. Each of them had rhythmic breathing, their footsteps fast and easy. Only Qi Qing seemed to be in a difficult situation, but he would use his scarlet pill cricket gu from time to time, catching up reluctantly. Yet it could also be seen that he had received good teaching, for although he often staggered along the way, at least he never fell down. When they reached the mountain foot, with one hand gesture from Qi Shan, the group swiftly stopped in their tracks. Huff huff. Qi Qing had fallen behind by 300 meters, and he was the last to catch up. His face was pale and he panted heavily, his gaze inconceivable as he looked at Fang Yuan. During the journey, Fang Yuan had always been following tightly behind, and up till now his breathing was only slightly heavy. He did not look the least bit like a newcomer who just graduated. Qi Cheng, remember, regulate your physical strength. Qi Shan looked back and advised Qi Cheng. Then he swept his gaze past Fang Yuan, his eyes showing a hint of praise. The looks that the other few group members gave towards Fang Yuan had also softened a little. We will be nearing the beast tied down there. Qi Chen and Fang Yuan come towards the middle of the team. Qi Shan looked at the pitch-black mountain forest before him as he spoke. This sentence let Fang Yuan reevaluate Qi Shan. This huge boulder of a man sure had tolerance. The middle of a group is often the safest spot. Although Fang Yuan was not a person of the Mo bloodline, Qi Shan still maintained the manner of protecting a newcomer. To compare him to the sickly snake Jiao San, the latter would immediately pale in comparison. The sky had already become completely dark, and the black clouds were in layers, causing the accumulated snow to also become dark and gloomy. Qi Shan's group had already changed their group formation. Their speed dropped greatly as they ran slowly through the complicated terrain of the mountain forest. Fang Yuan and Qi Cheng were in the middle part of the group, where on the left side was the huge Qi Shan, while the right side was an old man. Behind them was a young woman with a head of watery blue-colored long hair, and in front of them was a male Gu master called Qi Shi. He was the reconnaissance Gu master of this group, and he gave out hissing noises. From time to time, he would stick his tongue out into the air. Right now his tongue had a small divide in between, becoming the bright red forked tongue of a snake. As they entered deeper into the mountain forest, their surroundings started to show wild beasts violently running about wildly. Suddenly Qi Shi opened his mouth and spoke. Before us, 3 medium-sized animals have appeared. Suspected to be wild deer. Drive it away. Qi Shan's expression was unchanging as he immediately gave the order. The 6-man group did not change their direction. They continued pursuing forward. 3 wild deer appeared before them, quickly changing their direction and dispersing. Not long after, Qi Shi's expression changed. A group of medium-sized creatures. Suspected to be turtleback apes. Shift, Qi Shan said. The small group immediately broke to the left side, bypassing this group of troublesome apes. This was the benefit of having a reconnaissance Gu master. He was able to anticipate and inform earlier, letting them make accurate decisions from it. Qi Shi is probably using the snake tongue Gu. This rank 2 Gu worm can sense heat temperatures, but it has 3 very obvious flaws. Firstly, the perception radius is small. Secondly, it is easily interfered with. Thirdly, it cannot detect cold-blooded creatures. Yet no matter what, it is better than not having any detection. I have reached rank 2 now, and in future to survive in the wild, I will also need a detection type of Gu, Fang Yuan thought. Suddenly Qi Shi urgently spoke, a middle-sized creature, suspected to be a white tiger. It's found us and is quickly approaching. Engage. Qi Shang's tone was calm and collected. Roar. A fierce tiger jumped out from the thicket in front of them, and the group met it head-on. Without Qi Shi's warning in advance, perhaps they would be caught unprepared, but right now, the group had long anticipated. Firstly, the old Gu master on the right suddenly drummed up his cheeks and then spit out a white-colored, viscous substance. The substance abruptly expanded in midair, becoming a huge spider net. It used its strong viscosity and trapped the white tiger full in the face. The white tiger struggled fiercely in the net, and Qi Shan immediately stepped forward and brandished his fist, pounding onto the tiger's head. His fist had a golden luster flashing through. And with a bang, the tiger's head was smashed into pieces. The white tiger died in one breath. The group did not stop to stay behind, but instead walked over the tiger's body and continued forward. Qi Shi took Qi Shan's place again and ran in front, taking the lead. Through the entire process, it was like moving clouds and flowing water. All the group members displayed mutual understanding. That entire process did not take more than 3 seconds. If it was me right now who was taking on that tiger alone, I would need at least 5 minutes to contend with. Fang Yuan's gaze was flashing. These Gu masters were also rank 2 like him, but the main disparity was still Gu worms. They all used rank 2 Gu worms, and this enabled them to bring out the best in each other. However, all the Gu in Fang Yuan's hands were still rank 1. Gu master, Gu master. The word Gu is before the word master, signifying that Gu worms have a huge impact on a Gu master's fighting power. 1. Although I have advanced to rank 2, I still need to have rank 2 Gu to be able to display the fighting power of a rank 2 Gu master. However, right now, I do not have many primeval stones on me. I have used up a huge portion from breaking into rank 2. Refining 2 Gu worms together will also use up a considerable amount of primeval stones. As Fang Yuan thought of this, Qi Shi, who was in front of him, suddenly said, I found the sickly snakes group. 1. The Chinese like to repeat things sometimes when emphasizing something. Gu master, gu master. Gu and master. Gu is before master. Gu is so important. Chapter 94. Suddenly withdrawing strength. Found the sickly snake group in front. They are currently contesting with a large-sized wild beast. Only half a second later, she said again, this time more specific. What's the situation? Shan frowned. There's no mistake. Shi's snake tongue continued to stretch and shrink. Jiao San's red lava python is the only one in the entire village, and now they are fighting against Wild Boar King. Everyone's expression changed. Wild Boar King. If I want to combine goo worms, I require the wild boar's tusks. Undoubtedly, the Wild Boar King's tusks are the most suitable. Fang Yuan's heart stirred, and in actuality, he had the intention to kill the Wild Boar King from the start. That Wild Boar King? Watery blue-hair female goo master raised her brows. Other than that one, there is no other in the vicinity. But relying on just the strength of the sickly snake group to reap the Wild Boar King, their appetite is too big. The old goo master sneered in disdain that if old man Wang could grasp the terrain of the mountain himself, these rank 2 goo masters who were always roaming around on Qingmao Mountain would obviously be more familiar with it. Not eliminating the Wild Boar King before this, they had their reasons. Shan pondered, then said, go support them. Hee, I'm afraid they might not reciprocate. The old goo master laughed coldly. Even if we do not go and support them, we still have to send someone over, right? Cheng looked at Fang Yuan, saying in an unhappy tone. The team's direction steered towards the left, although Shan and the rest always looked down and did not like Guyu Jiao San. But as clansmen, towards outside foes, even if they had amnesty normally, they would group up and work together. This is the cohesiveness of a clan in this world. And especially relying on this cohesiveness could a 100-year-old clan sustain itself without dying out, even becoming a 1,000-year-old clan. Everyone moved through the jungle in the darkness, heading towards a low-lying land. Sickly snake groups, 4 goo masters were surrounding the Wild Boar King, engaging in fierce combat. In the center, the elephant-like Wild Boar King was fighting with a thin and long red-colored python. This red giant python had dark red rock pieces all over its body, the temperature very high. It was like a thick chain coiling around the Wild Boar King. The Wild Boar King cried out angrily, constantly rolling on the ground, its snow-white tusks piercing the darkness and drawing cold light in the air. Its body was full of big and small injuries, its tail already broken. While flipping around, it revealed its fresh red injuries, stuck to the red lava python's body and scalded by the high temperature. The Shan group did not get closer, but observed from a distance. Taking a few looks, the old goo master was enlightened. I say, how did the sickly snake have this courage? Looks like the Wild Boar King was actually injured already. TSK. He sure picked up the cheap goods. This scoundrel got lucky. Do you guys think that this Wild Boar King's body would have the black boar goo? Cheng excitedly said with glowing eyes. Fang Yuan's expression was unchanged as he watched silently, this time. Jiao San and his gang also realized the situation of being watched, and immediately the support goo master Gu Yukong Jing, who was the furthest away from the Wild Boar King, left the battlefield and ran over. Oh, it is Lord Shan. There's no problems here now, we can handle it. There are many wild beast groups in front. They need your support. Kong Jing said to the people. What do you mean you can handle it? You're clearly lying through your teeth. I can see that this python isn't going to hang in there much longer. The old goo master's experienced gaze revealed the situation at once. You're just afraid of us wanting to split the rewards after helping. The watery blue long-haired female goo master immediately pointed out Jiao San and his gang's intention. This Wild Boar King is yours, Shan said. Looking at the old goo master, the old goo master snorted, but he still bent down, vomiting out a piece of white sticky spider web. The spider web expanded in the air and spread out, enveloping the Wild Boar King. The Wild Boar King struggled intensely in the web, breaking threads after threads, but it could not get free quickly. During this period, sickly snake Jiao San quickly got the red lava python to retreat. After that, together with the healing female goo master in the group, They underwent emergency battle healing on the python. In the fierce battle earlier, the red lava python's rock body already had some cracks. Through the healing, the cracks mended, shrinking until they disappeared. Fang Yuan, you should go back. You still want to depend on our group. Qi Cheng said in annoyance. Fang Yuan took a step out and walked out from behind Qi Shan. That Ji Yukong Jing was blocked by Qi Shan's huge body earlier and did not see him. At the moment when he saw Fang Yuan, his expression turned weird. Jiao San turned his head around, and upon seeing Fang Yuan, was overjoyed at once. Fang Yuan, you're finally here. Quick, the spider web is not going to hold. You have huge strength. Go and restrain the wild boar king and buy us time. We need time to heal the red lava python. Without a defensive goo and only with rank 1 cultivation, getting close to the wild boar king was nothing but risky. Qi Shan took a look at Fang Yuan and said, go. Saying so, he took a huge step and left the place. He kept his word. Although the wild boar king had much value, he turned around and left without hesitation. Seeing Qi Shan's group leaving, Jiao San and the gang breathed a sigh of relief. From start to finish, they did not say a word of thanks. Jiao San continued shouting, Fang Yuan, hurry, the wild boar king's strength is huge. The spider web is not going to hold out. If you perform well this time, I will not pursue the matter of you leaving the team on your own. Okay. Fang Yuan agreed. Quickly getting to the wild boar king and grabbing its 2 huge tusks, he used all his strength and pulled, causing the wild boar king to be suppressed. Its struggling suddenly diminished. Good job, Jiao San praised, but his eyes shone with cold light. This Fang Yuan came at a good time. The small beast horde was the perfect chance. Jiao San had never thought of killing Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was his member, and if he died, the clan's evaluation of him would drop. This did not suit his interest that he only promised his uncle Gu Yudong to slow Fang Yuan's growth. If he could drag it beyond 16 years old, he would obtain a fortune promised by Gu Yudong Tuesday. The truth is, even with his scheming and intolerant nature, he did not think of killing Fang Yuan before. This is not just because after a Gu master dies, the punishment hall would hold a thorough investigation, thus being risky, but also because of the clan's belief. Blood is thicker than water, family comes first. This notion is ingrained into the people's hearts. Unless there is a feud of killing one's parents or stealing one's wife, there is no such phenomenon of disputes. Like how the Guyu clan leader once taught the academy elder, not only does the system and rules hold the clan together, there is also the thick family relationships. Any organization would need to have a system and values as their basic core. Using this opportunity, I'll let Fang Yuan get injured and return to the village to nurse his injuries. Let's see if he can cultivate to rank 2 like that. Of course, I cannot strike personally. If I get discovered, that would be bad. Since there are so many beasts in the horde anyway, I'll borrow from their strength. Guyu Jiao San laughed coldly in his heart, but he asked, Fang Yuan, how long can you hold out? A while more, don't worry, group leader. Fang Yuan replied with much strength. Very good, Hua Xing. Go and plant the corrosion bloodgrass goo. Jiao San instructed while healing the red lava python. Yes. A female goo master walked up. She came to the side of the wild boar king and stretched out both hands, giving a thumbs up on both hands. The nails on her thumbs had a purple vine insignia coiling around. Light red-colored red steel primeval essence gushed out and surrounded her white thumb and entered the insignia. The vines were brought alive immediately, extending a delicate tentacle from her nails. The tentacles moved like snakes, extending to the wild boar king's mouth, and then along its teeth, going deep into its stomach. Fang Yuan covered his mouth in the darkness as it curled into a devious angle. Others would think about kinship and not have killing intent on their clansmen. This was going against the traditional moral values of the clan. But he did not put these values into his heart. The strength he placed on the wild boar king's tusks suddenly vanished. The wild boar king furiously growled and summoned all its strength. Its tusks swung in the air as Fang Yuan, who was holding onto both tusks, was brought along with the force and was thrown away. The wild boar king once again turned its head, and the tusks swept through. The female Gu master was beside it and could not react quickly enough to such a change. She was hit by the tusks and screamed in agony. Then her slim body, after getting hit by the tusks, broke into 2 with a snap. The female Gu master flew away like a broken bag. She was swept high into the sky and then plopped down again. She landed on the ground, her eyes wide open. She was dead on the spot. Chapter 95, Garbage Teammate. The female Gu master's body was like a rag doll. From the waist and across it was broken, and her upper body laid on the ground, displayed at an odd angle against her lower body, the arms parallel to the ground while her legs were pointing towards the sky. From afar, Fang Yuan also started to descend. First, he hit the tree canopy and broke many branches before landing on the snowy ground. He turned his body nimbly and stood up on the snowy ground. Because he had utilized the jade skin Gu earlier, other than some pain in his back, he was unscathed. On the battlefield, after a momentary silence, Jiao San's angry howl could be heard. Fang Yuan, didn't you say you could hold on? Fang Yuan laughed coldly in the dark, but suddenly his body twisted and he almost fell down. He used his hand to hold onto the tree trunk as support and was able to maintain his body balance. He pretended to limp as if he could not walk, but his gaze swept across the surroundings to see if there was any other Gu masters against the beast horde. The Gu masters were fighting with all they had and could not be free enough or even have the mood to observe Fang Yuan. Even though he had been observing in secret and found no Gu masters nearby, Fang Yuan still discreetly chose to hide himself. From the other side, intense battle noises could be heard again. Evidently, the wild boar king had escaped its entrapment and was fighting once again with the red lava python. Fang Yuan shifted step by step towards them with a face of anxiety, almost falling onto the ground a few times. Dirt, soil, grass, and snow were all over his body, making him appear battered and exhausted. He finally got back to the fringe of the battlefield. On the battlefield, 3 people and a pig were fighting. The red lava python coiled around the body of the wild boar king and its 2 hind legs. The wild boar king's 2 front legs could only thrash around randomly, causing it to roll on the ground, sometimes struggling. With the movement of its 2 front legs, it knocked and crashed into things randomly. There were even more injuries on its body now. The boiling pig blood had dyed the floor red. Seeing Fang Yuan, the outermost position Gu Yukong Jing said, "Fang Yuan, you scum. You caused Hua Xin to die." I didn't mean it, but I really couldn't hold it," Fang Yuan shouted. "Fuck. Then why did you promise so confidently if you couldn't? No means no. Giving false promises like this will kill us all," Gu Kongjing furiously screamed. If he was not in combat at the moment, he would go up and give Fang Yuan 2 tight slaps. Sorry, I won't do it again," Fang Yuan quickly yelled back. "Fang Yuan, we'll talk about this later," Sickly Snake Jiao San roared, feeling his pressure intensify. The almost dead wild boar king had flown into madness, and the red lava python had injuries and cracks all over its body. "Kongjing, don't bother with Fang Yuan. Quickly take out the knife scale web." When Jiao San saw that the red lava python was almost at its breaking point, he shouted in panic with cold sweat all over. "Yes." Kongjing quickly retrieved the big belly frog and used his primeval essence, vomiting a piece of steel web. On this steel web, there were sharp spikes and apparent blades. "Fang Yuan, grab the other end and rush up with me. We'll entangle the wild boar king," Kongjing said, "but my leg is injured. I cannot walk," Fang Yuan said with an anxious expression, crippling his way there. "Useless thing." Kongjing, with no other choice, had to do it himself, his hands dragging the knife scale's web and throwing it at the wild boar king. The wild boar king was covered by the knife scale web, causing it to cry out as fresh blood splattered. It had predicted that its death was impending and struggled even more fiercely. As its struggle intensified, the knife scale web's entanglement got tighter, and its injuries worsened. As for the red lava python, because of its rock body, it did not take much damage from this knife scale web. "What a waste of this fur," Jiao San said in pity. Finally settled, Kongjing breathed out in relief. This time, Fang Yuan shouted, "Let me help you guys." Swoosh, 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 numerous moon blades flew out and hit the knife scale web, causing the steel threads to be torn apart. With the wild boar king's intense struggle, the hole got even bigger and the knife scale web was torn into pieces, allowing the wild boar king to escape. Once, Kongjing stared with bulging eyes, lost for words. What the fuck? Another female Gu master could no longer care about her feminine image and swore loudly. It seems I messed up. I wanted to help," Fang Yuan said, sounding very sincere and innocent. Jiao San dodged the wild boar king's charge, rolling on the floor. Before he even got up, he shouted, "Fang Yuan, you dumb piece of shit. See what you did? You're simply garbage for a teammate. Leader, you must trust me. I didn't mean it. Fang Yuan defended himself. Shut the fuck up. From now on, do nothing. Wait at the corner. Jiao San shouted, rolling again and dodging the wild boar king's trample. Fang Yuan snickered, but still obediently took tens of steps back. All of you get back. Jiao San shouted, finally showing his true trump card as 2 strands of poisonous yellow air came out from his nostrils. The poisonous air continued to come out from his nose, growing more and more until they gathered into a lump of yellow poisonous cloud. The wild boar king and Jiao San's shadow could be seen outside the poisonous cloud. Kong Jing, Fang Yuan, and the others observed outside the yellow cloud. Fang Yuan said to the remaining female Gu Master, "Heal my leg, it's injured." The female Gu Master flew into a rage. "My good sister is dead, and your leg is only stumped. Why don't you go and die?" Fang Yuan said in grievance, "I didn't want this to happen either." But his eyes shone with a trace of sharpness. "Should I act and eliminate these people? It is a chance to act now." In their subconscious minds, they would not expect me to have killing intention. If the sickly snake group is exterminated, there would be fewer restrictions on me. But if any Gu Master saw this process, I would fall into the abyss. The crime of killing a clansman is the most unforgivable in this world. Not only will I be executed, I would also have to face all sorts of torture for 7 days and 7 nights. Death is not scary, but for such a small group, it is not worth the risk. A pity the wild boar king is dying. After this battle, the sickly snake group would be greatly weakened and their battle strength would be at the lowest. They would definitely leave the battlefield. What a pity. This was a godsend opportunity. Fang Yuan felt regret and pity in his heart. But he had done it to the greatest limit, and if he exceeded this, the feeling of sabotage would thicken. The others were not stupid. They would notice, and if other Gu Masters saw this, the risk would intensify. 5 minutes later, the wild boar king plopped onto the ground. The yellow cloud dissipated, and Jiao San breathed loudly with a pale face. He had used his final trump card, and now he had little to no primeval essence left. "All of you come here and dissect the corpse quickly. We will retreat after taking the spoils of the battle." Jiao San shouted. Fang Yuan surrounded the wild boar king and quickly began to dissect the corpse. The wild boar king's blood was still hot, and the smell of blood was thick. Throughout the surrounding forest that was enshrouded in darkness, there were continuous howls from wild beasts and intense battle noises. But there were no wild beasts in this tiny battlefield. This was the authority of the Beast King. There were rules among the wild beasts. The thick aura of the wild boar king caused other wild beasts to shrink in fear, and if the beast horde came here, they would find their way around this region. Of course, if it was another stronger beast horde or another beast king, they would not care about the wild boar king's aura. At this time, pairs of blue eyes glowed in the surrounding darkness. From other places, blood-curdling screeches and alarmed cries of Gu Masters could be heard. "It's the wolves, the wolf pack." The lightning wolf pack actually appeared. "Damn it, why is there a wolf pack here? It is still not the time for the outburst of the wolf tide, right? Retreat. Forget the wild boar king. We have to retreat quickly." Jiao San shouted, and the faces of the surrounding people also turned white. One lightning wolf was not scary. But a pack of lightning wolves, even the wild boar king would have to run. Most importantly, the lightning wolves' durability and endurance were high. They also had great speed, being most proficient at chasing. At such a critical moment, Jiao San could no longer care about the others, abandoning the 3 and running for his life. "Group leader, wait for me," Kong Jing shouted in panic, catching up to him. "I do not have a goo worm that enhances my speed. I can't escape." Jiao San and the others have no primeval essence left, so even if they have a speed-type goo, they can't escape the chase of the lightning wolves. Under the danger of death, Fang Yuan evaluated calmly. He quickly hit the neck of the female Gu Master near him who was in a daze, causing her to faint. Next, by dragging her, he burrowed into the wild boar king's stomach that was cut open. The wild boar king's stomach was already cut open with a huge wound. Fang Yuan squeezed his way into the bloody wild boar's body, at the same time using the female Gu Master's body to block away the entrance and cover up his body. The wolf pack quickly descended, mostly chasing after Jiao San and Kong Jing, while a portion of them surrounded the wild boar king and feasted. While Fang Yuan was inside the wild boar's body, he could hear the wolves chewing and swallowing, as well as their biting, causing vibrations in the corpse. To think that the first beast horde had lightning wolves, this is a surprise. The clan would definitely send reinforcements. The wild boar king's body is huge, so if the lightning wolves want to eat it completely, they would still need some time. As long as I can hold out, I would be spared from them. Fang Yuan pondered deeply. Without accident, Jiao San and Kong Jing should be dead meat. They had little primeval essence and were not speed-oriented, so with such a small distance, they would definitely get slaughtered by the wolves. When people panic, they would make dumb decisions. Under the pressure of death, there are little who can remain as calm as Fang Yuan and make the most appropriate decisions, even if the wild boar king's flesh was all eaten, exposing Fang Yuan who was hiding. The amount of lightning wolves that Fang Yuan would have to deal with is definitely lesser than the others. According to his experience, at most 5 would appear, which would be his limit. He had much greater chance of surviving. The lightning wolves continued to chew and bite, the sound indicating that they were getting closer. The wild boar king's flesh had mostly gone into the lightning wolf's stomach. If a normal person was in such a predicament, they would feel as if the seconds that were passing by were like an eternity. But instead Fang Yuan closed his eyes and took out his primeval stones, fighting against time to recover his primeval essence.